effectively, put yourself effectively in the situation is also very, it's like when he says, dear daughter,
Hmm.
somehow, I feel that he's addressing me. Many
Okay,
times
right.
I would have I would have gone through a problem or something, and very strangely, the whisper that I read will actually address that issue in a very weird way. I mean, I would have
Right.
not even, it's like an answer is coming from that whisper. So I feel that when he says put yourselves effectively in the situation, it actually means that he is in some way he's trying to solve the problem or the whatever issue we are facing, and that particular whisper comes to us. I don't know how that happens.
Hmm.
So maybe that is what it is. I'm not sure. It could be that.
Okay.
Just add to one or two things here. See, again, you are reading this message. Now you need to know the context of the situation under which this message is taken. That is the situation. Now it's quite possible that many of us will also pass through the same situation, right? So when he says to read between the lines, put yourself effectively in the situation. So whatever next he's going to talk about in terms of intellect versus the heart is a dilemma that every Abhyasi will face at some point of time in their journey. So it is relevant to each and everyone. Nobody is actually an exception to it. Provided you understand this message in the context of the situation in which it was written. The situation is that the scribe herself, he is in the conflict between the intellect versus the heart. That is the situation. And we'll all be there one day. So that's one thing. Okay. Read between the lines. So there are three levels of reading. So we talk about reading the literal meaning. Then we talk about the feeling associated with that the lines. And then the third level is we talk about the vibrations. So you have the words, literal meaning, and then the feelings associated with those words, and then you have the vibrations which are emanating in the heart. So when you are able to grasp the message at these three levels, that is where he says to grasp inwardly what emanates from the lines you read, learn to decode certain signs that you don't immediately detect. When you try to relate to the verbal meaning, you only relate at a very superficial level. When you actually close your eyes and contemplate, you actually start relating to the messages in the context of the feelings and the vibrations. That is going to give you a totally different dimension to what you are reading. Obviously, when he's talking about the inner eye is the sensitivity of the heart. To be able to decipher the message at the feeling level and the vibration level. Now, obviously, to the extent the heart is purified, to that extent the heart will be able to decipher the message or the meaning at the level of the vibrations and the feelings. Now, that is directly related to the condition of the heart. Then he says it will then help you to correctly grasp all the nuances. Every message has multiple dimensions, multiple nuances to it. There's some where superficial aspects is emphasized. There are some points where very deep aspects are emphasized. There are some where some other dimensions are emphasized. So we need to be able to move across all these different dimensions that each message might contain. So there are a lot of nuances in the message. Now, how do we pick up on the nuances? By developing the inner eye. Now, what is the inner eye? The sensitivity of the heart. That is what is the inner eye. That is going to give you an ability to grasp all the nuances in the message. So whenever you read any of these messages, first you need to read at the level of the literal meaning, then the feeling meaning, and then the vibrational meaning. All the three. That's why if you actually want to correctly grasp and learn from the whispers, you need to ponder over it for a longer period of time. Just read it once rather than just read it once. If you just read it once, you might be able to pick up certain things. Otherwise, beyond that, you will not be able to pick up. Obviously, one good thing is as we all evolve to the next part of our journey, our ability to pick up these nuances and multiple levels or dimensions of meaning becomes more and more easier. So we don't need to feel very, what do you say, bad or upset that we are not able to pick up certain things. That's fine, not to worry. As we evolve, we will be able to develop that capability. Okay?
So, in the interest of time, right, the next paragraph also, I think it is more about we have learned from our surroundings, the education. There is a certain pattern, upbringing, all of that. So we learn to function, react based on that. To interiorize yourself and developing another way of seeing is what Babuji is saying here. And that, I mean, that is the situation most of us are. Again, we can relate to that, and we will not be grasping what has most often escaped you, right? It is to interiorize yourselves and develop another way of seeing, of understanding, and of grasping what has most often escaped you. That is what is required. Be vigilant and a sixth sense. I think we also can talk a little bit on the sixth sense outside the social framework will enable you to have a more accurate approach to things. I think some of us have idea of the sixth sense, right? Um, so maybe I can take one more thought before we can get into the presentation, if that is okay.
One question. Daji had actually spoken about it, so please ponder about this. Interiorization versus internalization. He's used the word interiorization here. Interiorize yourself. So the question will be, what is the difference or similarities between internalization versus interiorization? So that's something of an homework for you people.
Okay. So can we go to the presentation then?
Yeah, brother. So the sixth sense, I'll just give you one small example. We were just reading about truth eternal in the sixth sense. What he's talking about here. Lalaji writes one sentence. He says, in the waking state, the heart is able to recall what happened in the sleep and the dream state. Right? We can all remember what happened in dream and what happened in the deep sleep state. He says spiritual sadhana is developing ability at the level of the heart, where the heart, while staying in the sushupti, which is the deep sleep state, can be aware of what has happened in the dream state and the waking state, the reversal of it. Normally, in the waking state, we can remember what happened in the deep sleep state and the dream sleep state. Spiritual sadhana is that sadhana where that practice where we are able to maintain awareness in the deep sleep state, which is the Shushupti state. And in that Shushupti state, you are able to recall, like we recall in the waking state, dream and sleep. In the deep sleep state, we should be able to recall what happened in dream and what happened in the waking state. The reversal of it. This is what is spiritual sadhana. This is its definition of spiritual sadhana. Maintaining or developing awareness in the state of Shushupti is what you are practicing for. And now this would emphasize the importance of awareness in meditation, developing that ability of awareness in meditation. The more you develop awareness, the more you actually grow spiritually. And this is also something emphasized by Daji in Spiritual Anatomy about the importance of self-awareness. Okay, so that is the sixth sense. The sixth sense is a sensitive heart. A heart which actually works across all the three states of our existence and with awareness, and then enables us to cross these three levels, enter into the fourth stage, which is the Turiya. That is the sixth sense. Okay, please go ahead, brother. Sorry for the interruption. Nice message.
No, sir, brother.
You have put the nice message to actually stimulate us. So that's your problem.
No, that's somehow coincidence. I think that's all I can say. So we'll begin. Let me know if you can see it. I have to share it, I think, right?
There's no sharing.
1 minute. Yeah. Right. So last time we met, we talked about meditation. I think the next chapter, as brother had said, this is heart region. So there are three more chapters: heart, mind, and central region. So as we go through this, I would also refer to the book as we go through. I mean, you have also read it. I hope most of you have read it. So there is a lot of text sometimes, and we will have to together decipher it or kind of decode it. That's all I can say. There's a lot of things that have been written which would need more contemplation. So let us jump into it straight away. So the first thing is, are you able to see the screen? Okay.
Yes, brother.
Yes,
Yes,
brother.
brother.
Yes, brother.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much. So this is the preface to what is to be coming, like the three chapters: heart region, then the first super mind of God or the mind region, that's what we can call, and then the center. Now, among the three things that we'll have to look at is anything, Babaji says, anything below the first mind is the heart region or heart circle. It's a very vast circle, and there are so many things that he has written, which has been summarized in that circle. If you see here, you will have individual mind. There are thoughts and ideas there. There's a first level of consciousness, or I would also say, I think you might have discussed this in other classes. Super consciousness first state is actually in the heart region, right? It starts from there. That is also one aspect. There are samskaras, and the topic that brother just now talked, sushupti. Sushupti is defined as the deep sleep state, right, or beyond the swapna state. There are three states of consciousness: Jagrat, that is awakened; the swapna, Sushupti. The fourth, which brother also said, is the Turiya. All these things are in the heart region. If you look at this chapter, Babuji says that most of our body is covered in this actually vast circle called heart region. So we will explore it now. But the next aspect is the super mind of God. That is actually about the next chapter, but I'm just giving you a glimpse of it. There you'll find perfect calmness, powerhouse for godly machinery, source of creation. That is a thing. But ultimately, we are going even beyond the super mind or the first mind of God, where there's actually nothing. And we also define there is the super fine state of super consciousness. So the third and the final state of super consciousness is where we are. This is the introduction for the heart region. So we'll jump into the next aspects. First, Babuji talks about introducing the body consciousness part of it. Most of us are attached to the body. We don't think anything beyond the body. There is no concept of soul, or we don't even think about anything like a soul or anything that is happening. That is how the body consciousness is working. You're mostly concerned about to take care of the body, to prevent it from decomposition. You don't even want to get aged. You fight for it. Those kinds of mm, attitudes or those kinds of ideas would be there for the body consciousness part of it. The only upkeeping that you want to do is about the body here, right? Or body is the master, he says, master for such thing. Or I can also say we become the slave to the body type of thing. Then there are so many circles. If you look at the third point, Babuji says the circles means you can again think of it as we wind ourselves over and over again with lot of thoughts related to the body. And he says body anyway is in a solid form. It is like a solid, but on top of it, we also create more solidity and rigidity around it with our thoughts related to the body and all of that. It becomes more hard and solid. That is the initial state of it. Now he asks a very pertinent question. We also get lots of ideas, okay, in the body conscious level. Whether the ideas are coming from outside or is it coming from inside? What is the answer to that? He says, actually, there are lots of ideas which are there from inside, but it just keeps, in coming from the body state. Even that thought is kind of very heavy. It is, he says, in already the thought which is coming is in the consonance with the thoughts that are already there. That means the pattern in which we are thinking, all that anyway accelerates with that. But that thought, he's kind of saying it bounces with the body and creates more like a heavy thoughts. What I could understand from here is more of, again, the same point, like we thinking just about the body becomes grosser and grosser. We can also relate to the fact that few chapters back we talked about Raja Yoga, where the thought should be of the highest order, right? The grand thought that we have, the source, the center, whatever, master, all of that. Instead of that, the thought is on the body. So imagine what would be the effect of it. And that is the interpretation you can think of. And you also know that you feel there are different organs in the body. You feel that you are the body, and you have the liver, all etc. All those different organs is what you're looking at. Now there is no concept of, say, your heart is beating or you're doing a certain things. There is no concept of or understanding of where this is being done, and no idea that he uses the word drama. Where is this drama happening? Is it happening in the body? No, it is happening somewhere outside. So why are these ideas coming? Nobody's thinking about it like that. But if you're body conscious, ultimately everything starts from the heart. Even the ideas, all of it, whatever he says, if you look at the last point here, where are these dramas being played? Why do such ideas flash? And who has reins for all of these things? Ultimately, it is the heart which is having the reins. So he's introducing the importance of heart here. Even if you are a body conscious thing, heart is also pretty much the important thing. But um, you're you think nothing, or I would put it like that, like if you put something wrong in the heart, you start thinking in that direction. If you make it correct, you start thinking in the correct direction. So it all depends on what is the thought that is coming, but the source of it is again the heart. We have made the heart in this fashion. The last line, if you look at it, we have made the heart in this fashion. The consequences, there is completely turmoil, to use another word which Babuji used earlier, turmoil or disturbance, all of that. We also use in generic, conversations. His heart is spoiled, right? Some always evil thoughts about others, or his heart is poisoned. I mean, if you want to use a slightly stronger word, what does it mean? I mean, maybe it is like you are thinking bad about some person. There's a resonance created because always bad kind of thoughts keeps coming, so it continues. So it is who's causing all of that? It's not, I mean, though it is coming from the heart, it is the pattern that we have created. So all this is a result of the making of our own. But to summarize what we just talked is, this is the idea of body consciousness. We are just living for the body, right? But still there's no like a peace or anything, because we just go into the whims and fancies of what is going on. Now the next, if I move to the next slide, there is we talked about it a little bit. All the thoughts are due to the heart. So if there is a thought because of the heart, think of it like the actions that we take because of the heart, that is also governed by, because of the thought, is also governed by the heart. The reaction to that thought or whatever action or inaction that we do, all of it is related to that. So heart is the main thing which is regulating all of it. It is a controlling agency. Again, why are we talking so much about the heart? He's introducing heart in the heart region. That's why he's kind of talking. And in the first slide, first page also, you might remember, he's writing, don't mistake this heart as the pumping, which is made up of the flesh and the blood, right? So in this chapter, slowly we are kind of exploring and unfurling more things that will come, that is coming here. So the third point is important, very important point. He says the main artery of the Almighty. Again, the channel, we can look at it as a channel. See, again, beautiful word, right? Heart and artery, he is using it. He could have said channel or something, but it is an artery. Artery is a main, I think, the blood vessel. So that way, main artery of the Almighty,
You are
the
muted,
idea of
brother.
creation. Sorry, are you able to hear?
Yes, brother.
Okay, I thought I heard somebody. Okay. The main artery of the Almighty with the idea of creation is working through the heart. Okay. And our heart is a unit issued from the center. It is in the same power in a limited sense. For that, there is a example that is used in the book. If you read it, pendulum-like movement in your heart is nothing but the effect of invisible motion below the center. I also got a thought we can park this pendulum-like movement. It's not talking of the heartbeat. I was thinking it's a heartbeat. Maybe we can explore that. It could be heartbeat also. Pendulum-like movement in your heart is nothing but the effect of invisible motion. You know that invisible motion, that latent motion that is there under the center. It is because of that. So he's saying there is a direct connect with the heart with that invisible motion that is there. So the visible form that we see from the invisible godly invisible latent motion that is happening at the center is in the heart. So that is one more effect that we are seeing in the heart. So we must be as powerful as that latent motion that show all of that. Why we are not that powerful? The last line here says that we are limited because of our own thinking. Again, we think we are small or narrow-mindedness. He uses the word narrow-mindedness. That is why, though we have all come from that latent motion, that there's a connection from that latent motion to the heart, maybe that same kind of power exists, but we are not having it because of our own making, right? So that is another aspect that is being talked here. So what are we trying to tell here? It is more of trying to define how important the heart is again. It is the main artery and all of the Almighty, main artery of the Almighty. The power flows through this. All of that has been written here. Okay. Maybe I also have this question on the pendulum motion. We can discuss a little later. Then let's get into this the next aspect, which is basically chakras. He talks of chakras, but before then, heart region is where the pralaya finally happens. Again, when we talk of heart region, he's telling the entire 3/4 of our body. I think it is from the chakra perspective, it is all the way up to the ninth point, right? That is what it is. From the bottom till all the way up to the ninth is a big vast circle of the heart, which is inside as well as outside. Anyway, when the pralaya happens, pralaya again, we're not talking Mahapralaya. Last time somebody was asking. I think Mahapralaya is a different concept. Pralaya within ourselves, our own pralaya happens in this region, heart region. Everything will collapse and go back to that original state. That is what we have to read as a pralaya. The internal changes that will happen. What other things we know about heart? There are always this revolving motion. Once the things come to the present form, that is, once the creation happens, there is always this revolving motion. Sometimes that revolving motion is more in certain stage, less in certain stage. I think again, Brother Raghu had told some classes back, right? The Doordarshan symbol. I'm also relating to the Doordarshan symbol. That rotating globe type of a thing. So if you imagine it like that, just for the imagination part, just to understand it better, there is some motion faster, some motion less faster. So it is happening in its own way. There are some resistances to that revolving motion, and that resistances is, let us keep it like that. Resistances. He also uses a word like bracket. Bracket means probably it is, which is bracket is used in the form of the power, which is enhancing the power or giving that some shape to the power. So that will create that kind of a latent motion. Latent motion then coming as a revolving motion commences. That power creates what is called as a lotus or a chakra. We see that there are lots of them in the heart region. We also, I think, there is a mention of point A and B in later half of this chapter. But think of it as those lotus and the chakras. all the chakras which is going to be useful in our journey during the human development in spirituality are in this heart chakra, in this heart region, right? In this vast circle, that's what we have. So the chakras and brackets is what we'll have to look at it from this perspective. Okay. I'll also cover this. If we cross this big circle, that is the next region that we get is the super mind of God. That is again the first mind. We had discussed about it in the previous chapter as well. Individual mind versus the first mind, all those things we had discussed. So after we go beyond this heart is this individual mind, the godly mind that is there. And we also said this in the first slide. Beyond that is the center, which is the real goal of life. And Babaji describes the center because it is revolving as something like an oval shaped thing, which is always revolving motions in that way. So think of that shape that he's saying is oval. Maybe nature has that shape, anything, maybe even our planets and all a little bit go into oval. That is my interpretation of it. Elliptical, right? It may not be exactly circular. That is how it is. It is there. Current of Almighty flows in this region, or rather abounds it. Current of Almighty is flowing in these regions. Once you cross the heart region, supermind of God, that region we are talking about. So these are some of the points. Let's see, I can probably do one more. So God has given brackets. Brackets is another term that is used near the chakras. They begin to get loose and lose their identity, just like untying of knots. So what is this untying of knots? There is a power concentration in the chakra, and as you start going through this journey, spiritual yatra, right? There is something called they start untying, and there is I think somewhere we also talked, right? There is a power and also some state power that also comes out of that chakra. So untying produces some conditions, and I think Raghu brother also said there is some power also that gets out of it. And the rays you feel in different corners of the subcircle all begin to disappear. So sometimes that feeling of light, he says light also is kind of very, very heavy as an item. So that is what Babuji has described in the nature of the heart region. So basically, this is talking about the subcircles of the heart region and what happens when they get loose. You'll also get to some conditions, and also there is some power that gets generated, and you feel in the different corners of the subcircle that rays that you feel starts to disappear. Those are some of the things. Let's move on. This is the light that we are talking about. When we meditate, some people do say in this heart region, they feel that there is a dazzling light and all that. So don't take light as a very real thing. Light is, he's just described it like that. Between light and darkness, light is also very heavy, is what is written in the book by Babuji. So they sometimes if you start meditating on the light, the matter around the light starts expanding. I mean, this is not our system. He's just talking about, say, especially I think he's referring to Agna Chakra, that region where you're just meditating and it just you feel dazzling light. You start enjoying, or you probably start focusing on the light. So that itself starts expanding in the matter there. And they are still in the Maya region, he says. If you still think that you have achieved something, that is not the case. As per Babuji there, that is, it is not, it is like meditating on the light itself. It's like a form. Okay. That is something that we have, that he has said. Let me see if there is anything. I'll refer the book here because sometimes the way it's written is much easier if we read it. There are few parts in the region that have I'm reading from the book now, that have a dazzling light. people in certain samstas sometimes meditate upon this light as well. He says, not our, some other samstas. They take light as the real thing. And, and they go, and with that, they go with the curiosity into it, fully applying their will. The result is that they expand the matter for the light to come in a higher degree. That means more light would come in. The power of light, no doubt, increases the capacity increases the capacity for having it improves. But really speaking, they're on the verge of the Maya. That is what is in the second point here. They're on the verge of the Maya in the solid form. And the I did talk about that. He says that the solid for the light. He also uses the word solid for the light because he says if there is in a true sense of the reality, there is no light or darkness. In reality, there is neither light nor darkness. They'll find the former, that is light, far heavier than the latter. Actually, they find light itself more heavier than the darkness, is what he's writing. And I did talk about the Trikuti. I think that is where this generally happens at that Agnya Chakra, Trikuti part of it, topmost of the point. So this is again description of the big circles that we are in. Right? And if you go to the next 2 points, it is mostly trying to tell us what all things happen in this region. The Rishis, which we know, Rishi Atri, he has mentioned Atri and Agastya. Both of them work for the nature. They all work in that region. That is the heart region. He's still talking about that heart, big circle of the heart. And I think this is a very powerful statement, the last point, but it just shows the understanding of the devata or the gods that we have in a traditional sense. It shows that no god or devata has actually crossed this heart region. It is only for the human being. So being a human being, you can if you do the right practice and with all the other necessities like having the right master, etc., you can actually cross it. And he also cites example of Lord Vishnu being in this region trying to upkeep some of the particles. That's what he writes, upkeep the particles of this. Again, you may think, what are we discussing? Heart region. Think of it as an heart region. We talked about multiple things, and they may experience this light and all of that. Chakras we talked about, and whatever various powers of the nature, all of that resides in this particular region. I think because of so much of theory, I feel I should pause here. And brother, is that okay? Should we pause for some time? We can, if needed, I can continue. But otherwise, I need some more sessions to do this actually. Yeah, go ahead. Pause. I wanted to listen to your views also. Yeah. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, actually, brother, I had a question. Even at the beginning, the second paragraph, it says
Second paragraph.
of this heart region, the chapter heart region. It says it is really a vast circle covering everything inner and outer. The thing after okay, this is okay. The thing after the first point, all belong to the. But then it says all the lotuses or chakras are set within its limits. So this always confused me. So when it says everything inner and outer, what is the meaning here?
My understanding is whatever is manifested, all of that is the outer. Inner is whatever we have in the chakras and all of that, right? All of this is a vast circle, is what he's saying.
But we generally, I mean, not we have this differentiation, heart region, mind region, and central region. So I was getting confused, like whether all these are falling in the heart region or what it is.
That's what this vast circle, heart circle, if he says, it encompasses the traditional understanding of the heart region. Heart region till the fifth point. After that, the sixth point we are calling mind and all that, right? But I think from the way it is written in this chapter, it is going all the way up to the ninth, and that means 10th, 11th, 12th could be the mind region, And after that, anyway, 13th onwards is the central region. So, so there is probably a concept of heart circle. I'm calling it as a heart circle versus the heart region. We can talk about it. I'd like
Okay.
brother also to talk more on that.
Okay.
But
Thank you.
that is the understanding. Yes, you are right. That confusion comes the moment you start reading this. But he keeps saying that it's a very big region, it's a big circle, and all of that. So it is much beyond the traditional, thinking of going till the fifth point.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other thing? Because we had so many concepts we talked, so I thought maybe we should pause.
Yeah, another thing, brother, regarding that pendulum-like motion, also, if something reason why,
I
because
have his brother Raghu there. I can't see the list here.
he is here.
Maybe he's muted. Yeah.
Yeah,
We can ask him once the session is over, because I also feel. No, my question. What is your question? Tell me, brother. First, then we'll
okay.
talk.
My question was like
Mhm.
this pendulum type motion. What basically this signifies, like it is like a movement, right? Um, it is just oscillating. So even there is a saying like pendulum, it just oscillates, but it reaches nowhere because it does not have a, so to say, a proper path kind of thing. So is it some swing type of thing, like very vaguely, suppose if I say mood swing, if I say swing type of thing, like no particular direction, we are just swinging, or how it is said, like pendulum only, not like anything else, or
Correct. Yeah, I also have that question, brother. Honestly, would like to hear from others. Because my way of thinking was he could have said heartbeat there, right? Beating of the heart, he could have said, if it really means the beating of the physical heart. But there is a word used as pendulum movement. Now, pendulum movement means, you say you're right, oscillating. It is just going, come back and forth, back and forth. So there is some rhythmic movement there. So yes, I want we can park it for now. We should ask Brother Raghu on that and see. Or there are some people who have raised their hands. Please go ahead if you have other thoughts. Let's discuss it.
Yeah, brother Bhima here. I just was going through the book only, page 145,
Okay.
the last para, where it says the invisible motion descend from the main artery for the creation of the universe, and they spread like showers in the big vast circle. These revolving motions constituted the world, and no doubt, and we see the forms created by the Almighty through the invisible motion all around. Brother, what are these invisible motions, and what is this big vast circle?
No, the vast circle refers to this heart region. He's sister. He's referring to this heart circle. Again, the first point we discussed, right? The entire most of it is, even if you look at it from a human body perspective, most of it is in this heart circle. And that is the big vast circle he's saying, right?
Okay.
And this latent motion is what they say, this invisible motion. Invisible means, I mean, that is like again a term that they use all the before as well. If you look at it, motion usually there should be something which is visible. Things are changing. It's shaking, whatever, right? But at the center, when beneath the center where this latent motion is there, it is actually it is defined as an invisible motion.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
but it has all that potential to create the actual motions that are there. What they're trying to tell here is it comes down like a showers. Like think of it as like a sort of rays shower. The rain type of a thing. Different powers come down, right?
Yeah.
Like that in the back big vast circle that creates the revolving motions. So from a non-motion, a motion is created. You got it. So a latent motion to actually a revolving motion comes in, and that constituted the world and all the forms. Again, when you say all the forms, my my understanding is probably all the different manifestations that you see, all of the revolutions, rotations that we see, right?
Yeah.
Planetary and all of that. That's probably is what is referring to. So somehow all these motions are connected to the Almighty.
Okay.
That's what it's trying to tell.
And we all are connected. That's the last line also says. This clearly proves that we are connected with the force of the power which affected
Yeah.
such
So
wonderful.
for us, what is the motion? He's saying it is in the heart, that pendulum like for which we
Yeah.
just talked. So our connection is through the heart. Of course, yes, we are also connected. Correct.
Fine. Thank you, brother.
Namaste, brother.
Namaste, sister.
Yeah, I have a doubt regarding page number 146. Here it is mentioned many places like brackets. So can you just give me an input on that? What does the bracket actually means?
I think it's more like brackets which will increase the power of the current, he says.
Okay.
I was thinking it would be more imagining again. I'm open to other people's view. Like suppose a flow of current is coming, like a water is coming, you have some resistance there, right?
Yeah.
Suppose you build a bridge. I mean, again, example, I'm not saying bracket is that. So there will be a sudden increase in the power, right? Because a lot of things get accumulated there.
Yes.
So there will be some concentration there. Otherwise, it's a free flowing. You're stopping it. So of course, the hydroelectric thing and all.
Yeah.
I mean, again, a very loose example. He's not written hydroelectric here. I'm just trying to think like that. That would be also that power is there. So somewhat like because of this resistance and brackets, yeah, that power center is greater. See, ultimately, again, if you look at the summary of what is being told here, is how a lotus or a chakra is being formed. Chakra is what? Power concentrated in certain areas, right? That is one of the definitions. So for that, he's saying how it is formed. Originally, how it got formed. He's trying to explain.
Okay. Thank you, brother.
Sure. Any other? I see some more people raising their hands.
Yes, namaste, brother. I have a question. So it is not from this chapter, but it just came like while going through this. So, brother, we say like we are going through these various regions. I just was thinking, where is a brighter world in all these regions? Like, because everything is connected at the end. We say, right? I mean, heart, mind, and then center region. So, where is a brighter world, or it is not in this context?
It's a world where the bright, the realized souls, all of them are there. I think again we can ask Brother Raghu. My understanding is the central region. That's what we are talking.
Okay, okay, sure, brother. Thank you, brother. Yeah.
Sure, sister. Okay, Sister Shamla, please. Yeah.
I have a doubt that in page number 147, brother, what is meant by God has given brackets in the subcircles of the heart region?
Yeah, but again, Sister, brackets, I think he's referring to the chakras only.
Okay. So
Subcircles of the heart region, they begin to get loose, their identity come to a standstill. No power of the brackets now remains. I mean, basically, the knots that are there in the chakra, no? I think that is the resistance that is causing the power not to flow. Knots is, again, he's comparing to the, say, suppose you have a shoelace which you are tied. You have to untie it, no? Or a thread where there is so much knots. I mean, again, an example. So there are lots of knots in the chakra, which will, through our journey, it gets untied. So maybe it is the knots, not the knots in the chakra is referring to this. Go ahead. You were saying something.
So, God, I thought these knots are created by our samskaras and all the resistance is because of our samskaras. So, God has given us, my doubt, like God has given or we created?
Okay. Oh, that way you're asking. The
Yeah.
samskaras are all ours. Maybe once you untie it and all of that, that is as part of our the chakra is given by the god. That's all I can say. Maybe the knots, all of that is created by us. How about that?
So the chakras are created by God, and the untying is
Untying happens through the process.
Yeah.
The tying or the knots itself is through our actions.
Okay. Okay, brother. Thank you.
We can ask all of this again, sister, just to re-clarify. Because I know it's somewhat kind of a cryptic text. I think you also, when you read, you will understand it, right? It is, the interpretation is important. So that's why more views are welcome. It's not like whatever I say is the right one.
Yeah, sure. So wherever the main artery is mentioned, it is for the heart region. Main artery, mighty, and main artery for the creation is all referring to the heart region.
There is a connection from the Almighty, that the higher region to the heart. That is what he's saying. That is the main artery.
Okay.
I mean, artery means it's again the connection part. There's a channel where you can go back. That's why we meditate on the heart, right? Ultimately, we meditate and that go back part of it. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, one more question, brother. So again, in the pendulum motion, it's according to there is page number 145 in the pendulum-like movement paragraph. It says, our heart being in touch with that invisible motion plays the same part in its own place according to its capacity. So here, capacity is again our limitation.
Yeah, because of our narrow-mindedness and all of that. Like how open is your heart? Depending on that, suppose you are a closed kind of. I mean, you have some belief system, all of that, right? Which is not allowing the actual power that is naturally there to unfold. Then it will not happen, right? So the limitation factor is I mean, he writes in the last line there, limitation is the narrow-mindedness. It is the samskaras, it is the things which are not allowing that to automatically unfold.
Okay. So here the invisible motions are all referring to the latent motion only.
Latent motions, yes, that is correct.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Bill.
No problem, sister. Is there anything else? Yes, brother.
Good evening, brother. I have one thought on the brackets that we are discussing, right? And one question also. So brackets in power, system, we call it as the hold or support or anchor to proper spacing and grounding. So I think that is what he's referring about. When those brackets, they stop and then they anchor and they space, conduits or, hold and, give spacing for the power flow. So I think that is what he's referring to.
You're referring from an electrical analogy, is it? Electrical point.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay,
So
okay, fine.
that is where I think it matches here when they begin to get loose and they lose their identity and no power of the brackets now remain. You untie everything and then the energy flows. That's my understanding. Coming to the question in the first page, is talking about the heart region, and he says we are all playing like ducks on the water in that region, meaning we are so comfortable, or we are experts, or we are not. Uh, ducks, they don't get drenched by the water. And what is the analogy? I mean, in what context he says that we are playing like ducks on the water?
Good question. Ducks unaware of the depth, I think. Unaware of the depth and playing at the surface. Playing means living on the surface, not understanding how big the region is, right?
Okay.
And that's what it means. Maybe it is just we're just playing. Also, you can relate it like a consciousness layer, which we are not involved to go to the depths of it. Either way, right? That subconscious or the superconscious, we are just at the surface. That is another way of interpreting it.
Okay. So in addition to that, next question, the super consciousness lies there, it says. So isn't that subconscious also lies here as per the point A, point B definition which Daji was referring, right? We get both subconscious, super consciousness and subconscious by point A meditation and point B cleaning, which is both in the upper region of the heart. So
yeah, but he's trying to write the grand nature of the heart region. He's just trying to say what all things are there. So and there is a continuity to it. In the mind region, he says a finer state of super consciousness is there, and then in the central region chapter, he says super fine state. So there is a continuity to this aspect. Maybe just refer to super consciousness there.
So can we say that that subconsciousness also included here?
Yeah, it should be. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes. Is there anybody else?
Brother?
Yes, brother.
The individual pralaya, when it has occurred, and what is the effect on abhyasis?
I mean, isn't that the pralaya means like the losing of your identity, right? Or the ego getting refined, or getting refined. The I-ness goes away, and there is just the what is remains is probably just of the godly nature. That is the pralaya. Pralaya is what, like going back to where we came from, like dissolution of everything. That is referring to that individual aspect. I'm not referring to anything like bigger than that. I think that is what says individual pralaya. Effect, when you mean effect, I think, what do you mean by effect of it? It's like that is there in our. I mean, as you progress, probably go to higher things. That would happen, part of the journey. When you say effect, I didn't get the real, your question there.
Yes, brother.
Yeah, you can still live in the world. That's what they say, right? I mean, you can, if you're asking that whether this will really means that you cannot live, that is not the case. I think very, very refined ego or identity still remains with you, um, but you're still living as a human being. Yeah.
Okay, brother.
Yes. One more raise. I saw more hand raised. Yes, sister.
Yeah, brother. So, I mean, the effect on abhyas isn't that is what is needed to go back to our original identity. So only if we do the individual pralaya is when we will become pure and pure, and then we will be able to progress and proceed towards the center. So without which we will not be able to. We will still have the grossness and the ego and all of the stuff. So that is what is the effect on the abhyasa is what I feel.
Okay. They're in a more refined state, is it not? Like,
yeah, it is needed to to proceed towards the center, without which we will not be able to go near the center.
okay.
If we don't lose our samskaras and the ego and
No,
all that, right?
if you're going there, all this happens automatically. It's not like I have to lose
Yeah,
today.
that's
I
what.
don't think it is like that. But yes, you're right. Because if you go to the center, it says again, if you look at that central region description, it is nothingness. There's nothing there. So you will also, if you are going there, you will have to be in a much, much, much refined state.
And to the ducks thing, I feel that, the duck seems from outside that it's floating very, uh, what to say, silently kinds, right? Or there's no disturbance kinds. But if you see underneath the foot or the feet of the duck, right, it's constantly in motion. I mean, there's a lot of disturbance underneath. So that is what is happening within us. And that's what I feel.
Okay. Yeah, that is one more way of looking at it. Correct. But I think what it was in the context of that paragraph, it was trying to say it's a very big region. We are just there on the surface. If you plainly look at it like that, right? Again, if you go back to the duck analogy. Yes, sister. Go ahead.
Yeah, brother, in the book it's written that very few rishis were able to cross the heart region, like Rishi Atri or Rishi Agastya, and even the gods. But brother, if you see, like, just I wanted to understand, like, Babuji is saying that human has a capability to go up to the central point, but these rishis were also a human only. So it's like they according to the book, I think it says that they were many rishis were working in this region and have not gone beyond this region of the heart region. So
That's what is written, sister. I can't
yeah,
comment beyond that, but that is correct. That's what he's saying.
okay. And similarly for the god also, I think that's what for
Yeah,
Vishnu
that is what.
also, and Narada also he
That
has
is a
said.
revelation from Babuji Maharaj. Yes, correct. That's what he's saying.
Okay, okay, fine. Brother, have you covered this one that on page number 49, Narada was at the lowest rung of the ladder leading up to this big region. He played his tune,
49.
yeah, 149,
Okay.
third
Maybe the
para.
first page, right?
Yeah, 149, the uh, page and third para.
No, I'm not come till there. I think
Okay, okay,
I just have to get into that now. I'm just
okay,
still here.
okay,
But
okay.
since it's around 9:30, I would like to stop because it's a very big,
Correct.
uh, and it goes on with so many things.
Yeah,
Probably it needs more discussions. If you are okay, we'll stop here,
okay,
and then we'll continue next time.
okay, okay, fine.
Yes, I see a lot of questions.
Uh,
I'll stop the
uh,
share. Maybe we can go back to the novel.
so, brother, is just a thought that came to me that maybe brackets are nothing but a kind of a protective layer that exists between two knots, between knots and subcircles. and that they serve as some kind of a protective layer that allows the Abhyasi to move from one condition to another. And
That I don't know, sister. I mean, this is probably your interpretation. What brother said could be true. That the brother said right before, like an electrical context, it is more
yes.
thought of it as a thing that holds the power. So maybe that is also true. But that's what you're saying. Probably it's your interpretation, but probably what it really is just is using a terminology like a bracket, which is holding the power. Probably.
Mm. Not a bone, you're saying. Okay.
Hmm.
Thank you.
Okay, one more.
Brother, regarding this, the continuation of this question, in one para, Babuji says the stoppages, that is the points of greater and lesser degree, serve to increase the resistance, like the brackets, which increase the power of current. He tells like this, and again in the after two paras, he says God has given brackets in subcircles of the heart region. They begin to get loose again till they lose their identity. So, what does he mean here, brother?
Like we just thought, no, it is the power, the center, the bracket is more like a power, which is there in
Power,
the.
yeah.
Hmm.
Again, it has to
So
get loose and lose its identity and come to standstill.
yeah, I think that journey goes through that, sister. That is what we will go through. Like there is this every chakra we do the merger and all of that, right? And the journey goes. You sarupyata, all this sayujyata, all those things happen, and then finally go to the next chakra, right? Maybe that is what this means, according to me, that once you merge with that, then he's writing it more like that chakra loses the identity. You and that becomes one that way. We can ask this question to brother. What does it mean to get loose and all of that? Yes. Yes, brother. One more question, I think.
Yes, brother. So in 147, after explaining about the center, he refers to our experience that when we go into the dark room, we find ring-like sparks of light in it. So when we go into the dark room, we find that. But he says that when you proceed through Raja Yoga, these begin to melt in till they are exhausted, meaning is referring about the center in that region. We feel this effect of melting all these rings like sparks in it. Is that what he means? When you proceed through Raja Yoga, these begin to melt in till they are exhausted. Means um, where this begin to melt.
He explains that better in the central region topic.
Okay, so it's in the central region it happens.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Because he describes the supermind of God in the previous paragraph and then goes to the center region.
Okay.
And then there he's seeing ring-like sparks of light. There is something when you enter the dark room, all of that. So there's a lot of things like that, which you so something you see like when you suddenly enter a dark room, you see that, right? So that is the comparison he's giving. You see a lot of that, and that also starts, disappearing, right? Different powers as you go through it melt in. Maybe he has explained something similar, brother, in that central region. When you go to that chapter, maybe that if you hold the thought, perhaps that will be more easier when we discuss that.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sisters.
I don't know, the bracket is using everywhere, which I felt.
is the
Everybody's talking
area.
about brackets. That's too much of brackets. Oh my God. Okay.
No. The energy area around the chakras I felt, brother. So just wanted to share.
Energy around the chakras. Okay.
That means the area where the energy is maintained in that circle. Every circle has, sorry, every chakra has a
Oh,
energy.
you're telling. Okay.
So
Holding
that
the
energy,
energy.
where
Probably
there is
somebody used that word, holding the energy, right? That is also
holding
correct.
the energy. So that energy bracket where it is used, that when it is loosened, the energy is released. I think wherever the bracket is used, is meaning the chakra which holds the energy.
Holds the energy. Could be correct.
That's the bracket. Thank you, brother.
Very difficult to explain. You're right. Yes, brother.
Yeah, I mean, okay. I was trying to say that, even in the same context, it talks about resistance, like in the current in electrical, as Brother Manikandan was pointing out. So you increase the resistance, volt current, lowers. You decrease the resistance, current goes high. And it also talks about in the same line. So there's an analogy for the lotuses, like the chakras, and the power that descends. So at different lotuses, they act like brackets. And based on the resistance, I think that is due to our own makings, perhaps. Less or more current flows through. I mean, that was something I was thinking.
And more resistance, less current, right? That's what you're meaning. Just like
Less current.
in our electrical analogy. Yeah, correct.
Like electron. And
So
second thing was
less resistance, more current. Okay.
more current. Second thing was regarding the rishis that is spoken here, the Atri Rishi and Rishi Agastya. The first line is there are very many things in this vast circle. Again, we have a confusion over this circle. Like if it contains everything, then we can't measure. I mean, in even otherwise, there's no point for us to measure their progress. But still, just to discuss this, because it says the vast circle and it's the hard circle that in the beginning second paragraph that we discussed earlier, that if it contains everything, then they could be anywhere. I mean, it is not the heart region. If it is the vast hard circle which contains everything, they could be any.
It is not. I mean, you don't have to assume they are in the first chakra or something. I mean, it's not given like that. It's just a revelation, brother. So if you really look at that, they are working for nature. It is just that, they are appointed to do certain things. That's a role that they're playing, the upkeep of the nature, etc. Yeah, he says that they have to play in that area to do that. They all do that in the heart region. It is more of a revelation from Huawei. I mean, we should just take it like that. I feel don't have to too much think about it unless you have a different view on it or a direct view on it. Otherwise, I think we should leave it there.
Yeah. Okay.
Sure, brother.
Yes. Thank you.
No. I see one more hand raised.
Yeah, another aspect is that there were various rishis who would have meditated for thousands of years. It's one aspect that is missing as we read our history is yogic transmission. So, irrespective of the duration of meditation, austerities, and all that, without yogic transmission, spiritual progress is not possible, or uh, it is very slow.
Yeah, that is true, brother. But I think we should just leave the rishis discussion if you don't mind, because I mean it's a revelation. Let's keep. You're right about a lot of things, but I don't want to comment beyond that. Yeah. Yes, sister.
So much in between the lines we are reading. That's what I felt relating.
Looks like you're reading only in between lines. You've just finished the first 5 pages. Too much in between lines.
So it just
Good.
coincides with the whisper.
Yeah, I think we should stop in terms of, at least in the interest of time. Brother Raghu, if you're, there are some questions, brother, which probably needs your clarification also. I think he's muted, I guess. Maybe he's doing he's going to be on another call or something. That's fine. Okay. What else? I mean, is there? We should wait for brother to come if he has anything else to add. Yes, brother. One more hand raised. Yes, Rika.
Regarding whispers, another thing is throughout the journey as a disciple, masters were very much human. Chariji's autobiography, Babuji's, Lalaji Maharaj's. One aspect is that, they all made mistakes, but in spite of all that, they were focused on. We see that in the journey, there is some kind of evolution in their attitude towards the master. And they were always connected, irrespective of whatever was happening in their life. So that's one learning that we are compelled by our samskaras, but during all that we are doing our sadhana. But amidst all this, that constant dependence on the master like a child, that attitude helps immensely, and that is what my observation when I read the autobiography. Especially, I'd like to refer Letters of the Master series, if you remember, third volume, where Chariji Maharaj starts working as General Secretary, or I don't remember. And in those letters, there is, of course, there are matters related to the mission and the frankness and devotion and dependence on the master. That is, at least for me, that was a great learning.
Yeah. Means we are all human. We're also doing this sadhana here, being in the material world, right? That's also an important thing. Yes, sister. One more. You have any points to add?
That pendulum-like movement in our heart, I think Master is referring to that because what is it? It's a visible form of the godly invisible motion. Yes, it's a drop of the ocean. So each heart is like visible form of God's invisible motion. That is creation. I felt, brother. The pendulum-like movement is it's all dispersed, and the creation which the latent motion does, the same thing heart also does. Maybe that is what is meaning. That's what I felt, brother.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else to add? I think we can. Let me call brother if he's. Oh yeah, he's there.
I'm looking at everyone bracketing you.
No. No, we
Everyone is putting in
also,
the
with
bracket.
more questions, I don't know whether we went in the wrong direction. That's why, brother. One
No,
thing
that's
is,
okay. I think it was a very nice discussion. Lot of nice
oh, you
discussions.
were there listening? Okay.
Yeah, I was listening to everything. So it was
Okay,
actually
okay. I
very
thought
nice.
you went to a different call.
No. I was on the other call, but then I came back. So I was just listening to all the, and much of the discussion was related into brackets.
Brackets.
So, and that's very
Brackets
interesting.
we need, and that pendulum-like motion, if you in the
Pendulum
heart.
like motions, I'll just tell you how to observe it. See, the invisible motion is there near the center. You know where is the center? The center is at the occipital prominence. You know that. Macrocosm, microcosm, Babuji has compared. This is the center, the occipital prominence. Now from there, the energy is kind of gushing out. How does the energy flow? The energy flows from here. It comes through to the center, comes to the sixth point, and from then, once it comes down to the heart region, it divides into three branches. That is what happens. So the main branch comes to the heart, the physical heart, the main branch. There are two other branches. So when the energy flows from above, it divides into three branches. So just remember that. It will come later on in one of the books when you read. But just remember, for the sake of understanding, that the energy which is flowing from here, from the center, comes down in the center, then comes toward the sixth point, then comes down to the fifth point, and after it crosses the fifth point, comes to the center of the chest and divides into three parts. The main artery comes down and goes to the physical heart. Okay?
Okay.
Now, this is the anatomy that you have to understand. Second thing, so the energy which is flowing from there stimulates the heart directly. There it is in the invisible motion. But when it comes to the physical heart, you can actually see the visibility of the motion. What is invisible near the center now becomes visible near the periphery. Now, how do you observe it? Normally, we have the lumped up feeling of the heart. This is what we actually feel, no? The lumped up feeling. Now, this is not what he's talking about. This is one aspect of the movement that is related to the stimulation of what is called as a sinoatrial node. There's something called, see, in medicine we read, how does the heart actually beat? What actually makes the heart beat? And then suddenly one day it stops. How does it stop? So the point is, there's something called as a SA node, sinoatrial node. So the heartbeat starts in the sinoatrial node. Now what science says is that it's autonomous, it just beats like that. Now since science says it's autonomous, it just beats like that. Nobody knows why it beats, nobody knows why it stops. This is what we say in at least medicine. So from the sinoatrial node, the nerves come down to another node, which is in the center of the heart, which is called as a AV node, atrioventricular node. From the atrioventricular node, the nerves then go and innervate the ventricles. So the ventricles then contract. This is what you feel as the labdum movement. Okay, this is the anatomical setup from a medical perspective also. But anyway, what exactly, if you want to observe the pendular movement, this is nothing to do with just the labdum movement. Apart from the labdum movement, the heart also has a slightly pendular movement. Like you can see in the clock, no? There is a pendular movement like this. But it's not as intense as that because the heart is actually encircled in a capsule. So the heart's pendular movement is very, very slight. Now, if you want to see the pendular movement, one of the simplest things that you can do is just sit with your legs cross-legged like this. Put your legs like this, one top of the other. And then relax yourself. When you observe the leg which is put on top, the leg will show some pendular movement like this. The pendular movement in the heart now actually appears as a pendular movement in the leg. That's the easiest way to observe it. So it is something easily observable. Normally, we confuse between the lumped up movements of the heart versus the pendular movement of the heart. What he is talking about here is the pendular movement, just like this, very subtle. What is invisible there now becomes visible here in the form of the pendular movement. And that pendular movement can also be seen when we actually put our leg one over the other. Not like this square, but on top of one another like this. And then you rest.
Where will we feel? Where will we feel when we put leg
like the top leg? When you see the foot,
leg, okay.
The foot will actually show the pendular movement. That is what you see. So this is the pendular movement. Now, the energy that is coming down at different points. One experiment I want you people to do is, suppose there is a current of water flowing. You keep something to obstruct it. You keep anything. You keep a stone, you keep a wooden plank, something to obstruct the water. What happens then? The water actually tries to avoid that obstruction. It flows on either side. Now, when it flows on the either side, the current increases because of the obstruction. That is what he is talking about. So, when the chakra is like a bud, there is resistance and there is the increased current on either side. As and when the chakra, which is nothing but concentrated energy, as and when the chakra opens up into a lotus, then that resistance is not there. So the water is not able to move unimpeded through the chakra. In other words, whatever the energy was held back in the chakra is now released into the consciousness. And you absorb that energy, and that is what you use to move from one level to the next level, one chakra to another chakra. So from one perspective, it acts as a resistance. And when Babuji says that you actually untie the knot, untying is nothing but the chakras opening up. So I want you to do this thing. Keep a flower, a fully grown flower, fully blossomed flower in the water, and see how the water flows. The water can flow through the flower. Keep a bud, a thick bud in the flower. It acts like a resistance. So water will flow around it. Can you see that? When it's opened as a chakra, there is no resistance. It flows just through it. When it's not yet opened, it's like a knot, then the water actually creates that resistance, and on either side the current increases. This is what is actually feeling. And as you people mentioned, most of the relation to the bracket is related to the chakras. But the chakra is itself in three different stages. First is the bud stage, like a knot. Second is the chakra. Third one is the lotus. When it is at the level of the lotus, there is no resistance at all. That is like you have actually totally untied the knot. There is no resistance. As long as there is resistance, the knot is, the bracket is in the form of either a knot or a bud or like a partially open flower. Even in a partially open flower, there is some resistance. But the moment the flower is fully open and then the water is able to flow through it, there is no resistance whatsoever. Now, what happens to the current when it comes down from the center is that by the time it crosses to different regions, because of the samskaras that we have got in the Pind Pradesh, by the time it comes to the first point, it gets modified. And that's what brother was talking about, the narrow-mindedness. The narrow-mindedness actually modifies the heart's impulse of creation. Remember, we are also part of nature. So the creative impulse coming from the nature is also passing through us. The difference is, in all other beings in nature, it passes unimpeded, unmodified. They are just natural. When it passes through the human system, since we have created samskaras, it gets modified. When it gets modified, although what is necessary is the creation happening through nature, that is what is being done. But it manifests differently because of the samskaras that we carry. That's all that it is. So just now before I had a phone call and we were just discussing, how do you know that the impulse which is passing through us is what nature also wanted from us? How do you know that it is modified? That's the question somebody asked. Any guesses? If nature's impulse is also flowing through us, then we can claim that everything that we do is in tune with nature. Right? Because the nature's impulse is flowing through us also. On what basis are we saying that the nature's impulse flowing through other living beings are flowing unimpeded versus human beings where it is impeded and modified? Both are nature's impulse only. How do you know that the nature's impulse is actually getting modified? Any guesses on that? We all read, no? We want to be in tune with nature. The question comes, how do you know that you are in tune with nature? Very simple question, no? 1 minute. Any guesses?
You will not go through the ups and downs if you are in tune. Whereas, like, you will have this dislikes, likes, all these opposites happen. You may get toward, you may be too happy, you may be sad because of. Then probably it's not, then the power is not working as per
So no ups
nature's
and
power is
downs.
not.
So essentially no ups and downs.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
No samskaras are formed.
No samskaras are formed. But how do you know that no samskaras are formed?
No heaviness.
No heaviness. So that's a very important point. Heaviness versus lightness. If you are in tune with nature, the heart will feel light after the work. If you are not in tune with nature, the heart will feel heavy after the work. So that's why we say keep an eye on the heart all the time. So that's one important thing. Brother said one other thing, but in a slightly different way, no ups and downs. When you say no ups and downs, what we are talking about is that life becomes smooth and easy going. When life is very, very tedious, that is when you are actually modifying some of the impulses from the nature. It could be because you are forming samskaras, or it could be because some of the samskaras are coming to bhoga, but life feels tedious. So there is some modification. So there is no smoothness, or it's not easy flowing. So that's the second thing that you look out for. Third thing,
Whether energy is conserved, but
since it is smooth flowing, you don't use much energy. Most of the
much
action
energy.
is automatic.
Okay.
But when it's flowing through resistance, because we have modified it, you require
Okay.
more force to be used. So that's the third thing. Anything else?
I feel peace and serenity.
Peace, serenity, settledness. So even after the activity is over, what you continue to feel in the heart is peace and serenity and settledness in the heart. In other words, you are not disturbing the serenity or the settledness. It continues to exist. That's the fourth one. Anything else? After the, go ahead. Somebody else want to answer.
Yeah, so my contentness, my happiness or satisfaction increases, and I may also get some divine revelations kind of thing. Few things may get clearer to me.
In other words, if you are in tune with nature, since you are actually working along with nature, nature is anyway creating bhoga, and you are not creating any samskaras. While the nature creates bhoga and you don't create samskaras, you actually become lighter by the day. As you become lighter, your consciousness becomes more subtle. When the consciousness becomes more subtle, you will be able to access certain things which you otherwise would not be able to access. It could be in the form of insights, it could be in the form of intuition, it could be in the form of divine revelations, it could be various things. But the byproducts of developing the subtlety of consciousness, that is what you will get. Okay? Anything else? The last thing is, when we do an activity after modifying it, we actually leave a trail of thoughts behind. After the activity is over, you continue to ponder on the activity. When it is in tune with nature, you just do the activity and you just leave it there. That's it. You don't carry any trail of that. Since you don't carry any trail of that, there is no samskara formation. Since there is no samskara formation, you feel lightness. Since there is no samskara formation, the nature is also working on us. We are making our consciousness subtle. When the consciousness becomes subtle, many other aspects of our existence come to our experience. So they're all related to one facet of the way that we are actually dealing with nature. See how simple it is. Each one leads to another. So there is no question of any heaviness. In fact, I'll just give you a very simple clue. Forget about heaviness. When you do anything which is out of tune with nature, the first thing that happens is your heart starts beating faster. Heaviness is later on. First is that your heart will start beating faster. Okay. So you have to observe the heart all the time. That is all it is. When we become more sensitive, forget about doing the wrong thing. Even thinking about the wrong thing make the heart beat faster. Not even thinking, even when the intention itself is wrong, the heart will beat faster. So at one level, doing the activity, at the second level, thinking, in the third level, just the intention being wrong actually makes your heart beat faster. That's how closely our heart is so sensitive to what happens in the mind. Again, these are all things that we have to pick up by experience. Then it becomes easier. Go ahead, Kishore. You are unmuted. You need to unmute. You're muted.
Sorry. So one question this came regarding the book reading discussion. So heart, like other person was saying, heart has comprises of everything like manas, buddhi, chitta, ahankar. Everything is part of it. And to my understanding, I think like we were discussing on the intuition part. So intuition is something which comes from within, right? This is not something logically which we conclude on. But while he was saying, until you have all these apparatuses which are part of heart, intellect, mind, and all those things, heart cannot have correct things or correct intuitions. So, like, I was not quite satisfied with that thing, but can you please explain a little bit on the this intuition part?
For you to receive the intuition, there are some prerequisites. And 2 or 3 prerequisites are necessary for us to receive the intuition. One, our imagination faculty should come down. Second, our thinking faculty should be refined. In other words, our thinking should gradually mold towards correct thinking. What is correct thinking? Correct thinking is that which is in alignment with our spiritual evolution. That is correct thinking. Then the buddhi should get converted into viveka. Without the buddhi getting converted into viveka, we will not be able to experience intuition. In the Pinda Pradesh, in the first and second points, we don't experience intuitions. What we experience is inspiration. Inspiration is where there is release of energy attached to a particular idea. That is inspiration. Let me do like this. Let me do like that. But intuition is something far more higher. So inspiration, intuition, then revelation. These are the 3 ways in which we actually progress. As we progress higher, when many of these faculties of the mind becomes refined, again, the last part is that the consciousness should be purified, cleared of the samskaras. These are all the prerequisites for the heart to act as an organ of intuition. When the mind is not yet refined, the heart cannot act as an organ of intuition. It is the purification of the mind that actually helps in the heart becoming a source of intuition. Without the purification of the mind, purification involves modification of many of these apparatus. Consciousness is modified into more purified state because the samskaras are removed. Ego is refined. Thinking becomes correct thinking. The buddhi becomes viveka. When all these things happen, then in that stage, when the energy from the mind is flowing to the heart without any modification, then modification is because the samskaras. Now, when all these apparatus are made purified, heart can actually receive the impulse as it is. In other words, it becomes in tune with what the divine is actually sending down. So that is why we say intuition means intuition with God. You are going to receive whatever is God giving without any modification. Like we receive in a one-to-one tuition. You just receive as it is without any modification. See, by the time if there is a classroom teaching and there are 40 people, the teacher says one thing, each one receives according to their own mindset. But here, when you are in tuition, developing intuition, you become one-to-one aligned with the godly impulse. So you start reaching it or you start receiving it with lesser and lesser modifications. Initially, you are sensitive only to the energy part of it with maybe some idea based on whatever issues that you are facing. That is the inspiration part of it. As you go higher, you actually feel the intuition, which is not just related to energy. You also have more clarity on what is the idea that is coming down. If you go even further up, it will be like a divine revelation. Where, in other words, you are catching the things coming from God higher and higher. The more higher you catch it, the less modified it is. So when somebody aligns to the center, they catch it directly without any modification. So the one who is actually the nearest to the God who catches these impulse first is called as a special personality. Now, other rishis also can catch down the line. But the special personality first receives those impulses from the divine and then according to what the divine wants, allocates the work to other rishis in the central region. That is what happens. And they act according to what is the instruction given by the special personality. At any point of time, there will be one person who is the closest to the center. That person will be the special personality. That's how it works. The hierarchy of how it works. There was one other point in terms of heart region versus heart circle. A lot of people are confused between these two. He writes that it's really a vast circle. When he talks about heart region, he describes it as a vast circle from head to toe. Right, that's what he's actually talking about in the first page itself, Hridaya Mandala. So some of this has been interpreted as like heart region is normally we say 1 to 5 points. But when you look at it from this perspective, that it's a vast circle extending from the head to toe, you are talking about from the first point up to the 10th point. In this particular context, if you take it as a big circle, in that particular context, Babuji says, no gods have access beyond the 10th point. It's in that context. 10th point is the point where the heart region ends. If you look at it from a vast circle point of view, head to toe. Now, in order to buttress that point, if you just look at the 10th knot in Towards Infinity, we'll read that in the 10th knot. When you look at 10th knot, what he says here is the function of Ishwar in the sense of a creator ceases and Ishwar has no access beyond. 10th point is the last point where a creator as Ishwar has access to. Beyond the 10th point, which is the 11th point, Ishwar does not have access. All gods are within this realm, between the first and the 10th points. All the rishis are there between the first to 10 points. In fact, not in the first 5 points, they are there in the next 5 points. That is what he is actually meaning when he says, so don't confuse between heart region and heart circle. Heart circle is from the first point up to the 10th point. Heart region, normally what we talk about, heart region, mind region and central region, heart region is between the first and the 5 points. Sometimes it can be confusing. So just keep that. Heart region versus heart circle. Okay. So when he says no gods or deities have access beyond that, he's talking about the 10th point. Beyond 10th point, see up to 10th point, Ishwar has access. Ishwar as a creator has access up to 10th point. Beyond 10th point, there is no access to Ishwar. Okay, just keep that in mind. That's another point which will come in for discussion. Obviously, there are so many points of discussion in this few pages. That's why I said heart region is going to take some time, at least the first few pages. And I think in the context of the ducks playing on the surface, what Jaisma brother said was correct. We are just at the periphery. When I say periphery, it's like we are playing in the first point without being aware of the entire expanse of the heart region. The heart region extends from the first point up to the 10th point, and we are not even bothered about it. We are happy playing around in the periphery, which is the first point. And most of the people are there in the first point only, without any, access to any other points above. Most of the people, including Narada, including many of the rishis, are there in the lower points only. The rishis that we talk about from the past, Atri or Agastya, if you read 44 Whispers, they all come to Babaji to receive instructions from him. Agastya is given a task, he needs to maintain certain things. Atri is given a task to maintain certain things. So quite a few rishis come and actually come intercommune, and they are given different tasks to do in different areas of upkeep of the world. Each of these rishis has a certain area that they have to manage or balance in nature, and they're all continuously working towards it. So their function do not cease just because they have shed the body. After the shedding of the body, they continue to work. That's why I said in one of the previous sessions, there is no retirement, there is no sick leave, there is no paid leave also. You continue to work because there is no illness, there is no tiredness. Then why will you not work continuously? You will continually work. In fact, you will actually work better after shedding the body than with the body. When we work with the body, there are limitations. But when we shed the body, there are no limitations whatsoever. And that is the beauty of it. So when you train to be a preceptor, you are going to be a preceptor for ages. So don't worry about it. So better learn all the work here only before the body is shed. So that it will come in handy in all the next lokas that you go to. Okay. So a lot of interesting questions. So the duck point is not related to the duck actually showing those moments of the feet underwater. No. What he means is that we are actually playing at the periphery of the heart region. What is the periphery of the heart region? The first point. We are all in the first point. And in fact, we were just reading the 44 whispers to the perceptors group. You know what Lalaji says? He says, we talk about first point, second point, third and fourth. No? Actually, bulk of the chest is first point only. Bulk. The second, third and fourth are very small points. Entire, if you want to take this hard point, no, the first point, the entire expanse is the first point only. Entire expanse, almost. And the second point is in one corner, third point is in one corner, fourth point is in one corner. But bulk of it is first point only. So majority of the abhyasis take a lot of time journeying through the first point. And interestingly, yesterday when we were reading the 44 whispers, one very important point came about. Babuji's perceptor, he is being given, conferred the title of Dhruva. Dhruva means one who has reached the sixth point. That is the definition of Dhruva. Okay, now, then Lalaji says, cut his heart now, or open his heart. So then the question comes, what is this opening of the heart? This one is already in the Dhruva, sixth point. He's already crossed the heart region. Then what do you mean by opening the heart? Now, that was a very, very interesting question. What happens is, we can make our journey up to the sixth, seventh, or even beyond points. But the trouble is, if you take an example of a bird which is tied by a thread to its leg to one of the poles, okay, and the thread is tied in such a way that there are a lot of what do you say? Not the knots, but you have actually just circled the thread around the pole, and the last bit of it you have actually tied to the bird's leg. Now, when we say our journey in the heart region, without the bird's leg not being untied, that is not untied. The bird's leg is still having the knot. But as and when the bird goes through in the opposite direction, what happens is the circles of the thread which are there around the, what do you say, the nail or whatever, it gets released. Now, when it gets released, the bird now has more freedom to fly further and further away. However, since the knot to the leg is still tied, it cannot fly away to freedom. When the knot of the heart means the first knot, when he says open the heart, what he means is untie this first knot fully. When you untie this first knot fully, then the bird has full freedom to fly away. Once the bird has the full freedom to fly away, it's not going to come back to get it tied again. That is what happens. That is opening up the heart knot. So that's a very, very interesting thing. And what was further thing is that if you have already, there is one journey which is the spiritual journey, which is taking place because of our sadhana and the pranahuti that we get from master. The second part, which is the untying of these knots. For example, the heart knot itself. Until the heart knot is untied, you are not going to get liberation fully, although you are eligible to get liberation. Getting eligibility to get liberation and actually getting liberation is different things. They are two separate things. It's like eligibility to write the exam of 10th standard and actually writing the exam and passing it. Not everybody who gets the eligibility will actually write the exam and pass. They are two separate things. There is no guarantee that just because you've got the eligibility that you will get the actual condition. Okay, so that's the second thing, where the knots in the heart needs to be opened up, although the journey has occurred up to the certain point. The third thing is, in parallel that is occurring, is that there are some work occurring on the samskaras also. So there are like three parallel lines in which we are actually evolving. One is the journey in terms of our spiritual yatra. Second one is untying some of the knots to the fullest extent so that you are actually liberated and you don't need to come back. Third one is the samskaras. Very, very interesting. In fact, the second point, no, he says a person can be brought under the condition or the influence of the condition of the absolute even when they are in the Pind Pradesh. What we think? We think that you have to go to the center to come under the influence of the condition of the absolute or the ultimate. What he is talking about in the context of Babu Madan Mohan Lal, who was Babuji's preceptor, is that he says you had alignment with the ultimate long before you became Dhruva. That's what he writes. Long before you became Dhruva, you had alignment, and that condition of the absolute has developed pretty well in you, in your heart. So just keep this in mind. The condition of the absolute actually has a lot of bearings in our journey. So there are three aspects happening. One is the alignment of our heart to the absolute. Second one is the spiritual journey. Third one is the work on the samskaras. All these three things are happening simultaneously, and they don't run in parallel with one another. Just remember, it need not be like they are all in parallel with one another. Sometimes one is ahead of the other two. Sometimes the other one is ahead of the other two. So it's a very, very interesting journey. Anyway, go ahead, Kishore.
So, brother, is it the degree of absolute which matters? Because you said, right, he was Dhruva, but at the same time, he was in connection with absolute. Is it the degree of absolute? Otherwise, he should not be on 6, right? He should be much ahead.
It's something like this. When he says that he is actually in tune with the absolute to a certain extent, what he means is, suppose you are studying 3rd standard, 4th standard. Now, when you use the word you are getting educated, would it be wrong to say that you are getting educated? Education is the ultimate thing. Even when you are passing 3rd and 4th standard, you are actually getting educated only. Are you getting the point? It is in that context he is actually saying that you are actually getting in tune with the absolute and the condition of absolute. In fact, Babuji was given the condition of the absolute as a nugget, or as a what do you say, as a formula, so to say, in one transmission by Lalaji in 1931. In 1931, and Babuji actually takes 13 years to unfold the condition of the ultimate. 13 years. What was given in one sitting by Lalaji in 1931, to unfold it and unfurl it, Babuji takes 13 years, till 1944. During 1944, when Babuji's alignment with the center becomes very strong, then Lalaji makes this comment that the condition of ultimate was given to you when you were in the Pinda Pradesh. And you have taken 13 years to unfold it. That is what has happened. Interestingly, when Babuji says to Chariji one point of time, Lalaji now wants to give you sitting, please come ready, be ready. They were traveling in the airport, and Chariji becomes ready. And then he sits, and then 1 minute, and then he says, that's all. 1 minute sitting. Then Chariji said, what, 1 minute sitting? What is this? Then he says, Lalaji says, this 1 minute sitting, you will take many years to actually digest it. 1 minute. So, 1 minute for those masters is many realms of consciousness at our level. That is the beauty of it. So, when you take sittings from different people, it is quite possible that they would have done sown so many seeds, many of which will unfold in due course of time. Just be aware of that. Again, these are the things that you learn when you become preceptor. So, be enthusiastic. There are so many things to learn and so many things to actually explore and work with. You have a treasure right in front of you. You are just learning the alphabets of it now. And then when you go to Kana, you learn a bit of alphabets about giving sittings. But after coming back, there is so much things to learn. And the 44 whispers, which I told you, please buy. All of you, I want you to read this, the 44 whispers. There are 4 volumes. Just read it. There is so much treasure in that. It is unsurpassed in human history. All of which can be tried by a preceptor. Remember, when you get trained now by master, you are all made full preceptors. Not partial preceptors like before. Initially, there were provisional preceptors who were only given partial ability to go. But now, when master makes preceptors, he is actually giving full permission. That means whatever is there in the red book, this is the red book for the perceptress. So this is something that you have to go through in the first year after you become perceptress. So this is one thing, and the 44 whispers. When you go through that, there's so many things that you can actually learn, pick up, utilize when you give the sittings, and see the unfolding of the work right in front of your eyes. See, for example, point B cleaning is a technique only. It is a technique. You do follow the technique and you see the benefit of it. Point A meditation, it is a technique. Universal prayer, it is a technique. Cleaning is a technique. Likewise, there are n number of techniques which are there. Now you might wonder how to actually work with the absolute. You become a perceptress, then you will see the beauty of it. All of you are actually very versed with the words transmission, words with the suggestion, cleaning. These are the things that you are well versed with. But there are a lot more things to it than what you can imagine. So look forward to those days where you actually start picking up on these nuances. That's why the message that Jaisima brother read today had a lot of meaning in the context of what we are discussing today. Lot of things are there for us to learn. But we find very few hearts ready to learn, ready to utilize it. And Daji says, all this, in fact, in today's message or yesterday's message from the brighter world, Babuji says, very few things are actually being utilized. There is a treasure here, very few things are getting utilized. If you just read the last 1 or 2 lines of the message, that's what he says in the brighter world, message from the brighter world. Let me see, I can just open that up. So it's a very interesting that what he says. And today's message and yesterday's message, that was also interesting. I'll just see whether it's from yesterday. I hope you are all reading the brightest whispers from the brighter world every day. I'm not able to see this now. I'll just put that particular message where he talks about that there is a treasure which is not actually being utilized as of now. So a day will come when this will be utilized in a far more better way than what it's being utilized now. Okay. Anyway, any other questions that you people were asking? A lot of interesting questions, and I think you bracketed Jessima from all directions. Prachi?
Yeah, brother, there was I had one question. So this, like we say, we are journeying from heart region to mind region to central region. Where is a brighter world in this whole journey?
Will you show your figure? This is from the brighter world. This is from the chapter Brahman chapter. You go to Truth Eternal and read the Brahman chapter. Truth Eternal. That's why I told you, please read Truth Eternal. Read the Brahman chapter in Truth Eternal. There, Lalaji talks about 2 worlds. One which is full of light, other one which is full of darkness. We are in the region of the darkness. The world which is full of light is what is called as the brighter world. And brighter world is not the end of it. There is something called as beyond the brighter world also. So what we are actually aiming now is that we are wanting to go to that region where there is lightness or there is light, and that is the brighter world. That is why it is called as brighter world. In other words, there is more light than what we have got here in terms of our alignment to the divine. That is what it means. The more the alignment to the divine, the more light is there. When we say brighter world, that is what we are talking about. But when you say beyond brighter world, that is when Lala Babuji says you have to go beyond light and darkness. There is a region of darkness, then there is a region of light. You have to go beyond that in order to reach the destiny. That is the reality, which is beyond light and darkness.
Okay.
Okay, so
Sure,
just
brother.
read that particular chapter Brahman in the Truth Eternal. That will give you an answer. What is the brighter world?
Sure, brother. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
Shamla?
Brother, this page number 147, last para. God has given brackets in the subcircles of the heart region. So the brackets are given by God, or or is it the brackets are the impressions that are created by us? Just wanted to understand that sentence.
I just now told you about that. I told you that the chakras have 3 stages. There is a bud-like state, then there is a chakra-like state where it's kind of partially blossomed flower. Then there is a full blossomed flower which is called as a lotus. Now these chakras, whether it's in a bud form or a partially blossomed flower form or a fully blossomed flower form, they're all given by God only. We just now spoke about it. So when it's in the bud form, it acts like a resistance. These chakras are created by God only. We spoke that day regarding why chakras are there. Chakras are there as centers of power. Because the power which is flowing from the center is so powerful that we will not be able to tolerate it at the first point. So the centers or the chakras act as like transformers. They hold the power to some extent. When they hold the power, they are initially in the form of a bud, and then later on a partial chakra, and then later on the lotuses. Till it becomes fully lotus, there is resistance. Once it becomes lotus, there is no resistance. By that time, what would happen? The energy that is contained in the chakras is released into the consciousness, and we absorb that energy. Using that energy, we progress to the next point. That is what happens. So simultaneously, as and when the chakra is actually blossoming into a lotus, we are getting the conditions, we are absorbing the energy and making ourselves ready for the next point. And thirdly, the resistance is now gone. That is what he means. The brackets are untied. And then now you are ready to move to the next point. How to move to the next point? You require energy. That energy is got by the absorption of that energy which was released because of the flowering of the chakra. That is what happens. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Nirmala?
Brother, every chakra can have multiple knots, but right?
That is what we have formed. See, every chakra has one knot, which is God formed. In other words, the chakra is like in a bud form. That is what God has given.
Okay.
So that the energy is sequestered there. Okay? Now, we form knots. Every chakra can have multiple knots because of the formation of the samskaras that we do. So the knot is used in 2 contexts. One in the context of the samskaras that we form. There also we use the word knot.
Okay.
And not in the context of what God has given as a chakra, which is like a bud form. That is also knot. So when people use the word knot, no, they get confused between these two.
Correct.
That's all it is. So both are correct. So in other places, he says there are multiple knots in each chakra, and day in and day out, knots are formed or being untied. These knots are related to the samskaras, not the knots given by God.
Okay.
Hope it's clear.
Yeah, now it's clear. Thank you, brother.
Okay. Sister Shinija?
Yes, brother. So I just had one question. You were mentioning earlier, right? Like Rishis, Narada, they're also at first point and they have not yet gone beyond, right? So, but then if they're still at that point, why have they not come back to Earth? Why did they not have rebirth? I know, very silly question, but
See, each functionary of his nature has a certain thing. All the demigods that you talk about, they're all like for a certain function of nature. They are functionaries of nature. When they are out of that functioning of the nature, they are at freedom to come back to human form. But as long as they are actually given that function of nature by the creator, they have to play that role. That's all it is.
So will they also be in the journey to progress further? Like how, or is that possible only in the human form?
They are in a certain realm of consciousness. They cannot cross that realm of consciousness. See, even avatars cannot cross that realm of consciousness.
Oh, okay.
Avatars themselves cannot cross the realm of consciousness they came from. So what do we talk about demigods?
Yeah.
Each of the demigod is confined to a particular range of consciousness. Within that range, they are free. But beyond that range, they have no access. It's only the humans who are given the freedom to move across the range of consciousness from the first point up to the center. No gods are given access like that. Just imagine how valuable human life is. Normally,
So,
we don't
like,
value human life at all.
yeah,
Right? So this
correct.
should actually give you a very good perspective of how valuable human life is. After so much of struggle, we have got human life, but we don't want to recognize its importance. We
Yeah.
stand and pray in terms of God, who are themselves confined to certain realm of consciousness, and we want to ask them to help us go beyond that realm of consciousness when they cannot get this. That's what we
Yeah,
are.
correct. Yeah, yeah.
It is in this
Thank
context that when Babuji says there is no need for idol worship, you need to understand from this context. Because the idols that you are worshipping, those gods themselves have not crossed beyond the range of consciousness. How can they help you to behind?
Correct.
Spirituality, if you are in spirituality, it is the living master who is the all in all, not any of the gods, any of the demigods. So let that be very clear. That is the importance of the living master as far as spiritual journey is concerned. None of the gods have the freedom to do spiritual journey. Please put it in your mind. None of the gods have the freedom.
So if they want to change their realm of consciousness, they have to come back in human form, and only
Human
then.
life is the only life which will actually help you to evolve.
Okay.
Now, we might actually shut the body at some point of time. Suppose we go to the seventh point. We don't become gods or demigods. We continue to evolve. But the moment they take up the role of the god, they are confined. Look at it this way. In a practical way, in a normal day-to-day life, a teacher who is supposed to teach the students are confined to either high school or college or degree or whatever. But a student can go from nursery up to PhD. Now you tell me who is free, a student or a teacher?
Student is only free because he has choice
So
to become
what is
more.
it better to be? It's better to be student, no? Not gods.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's the
Thank
beauty
you,
of it.
brother. Thank
Okay. Sandhya Rani?
Yeah. Brother, when we are saying lotus state, so that is like every chakra we have the mergence, right? So is the mergence is nothing but the lotus state?
No. Lotus state is slightly beyond. Mergence is the third stage. Mergence is the layavastha or the sarupyata. Mergence is what is called as fana. So I just want to read you that particular thing from yesterday. We read about it. We use the word, the Urdu words, fana and baka. Fana means merging. After the merging has occurred at a particular point or particular chakra, we get into a permanent life with that merger, and that is called as baka.
Pata.
After the baka, you get into a state of self-negation where the awareness of the fana and the baka both are gone. That is a state of self-negation. So three stages. Fana is merger or layavastha, or in Kannada you call it as sarupyata. Then baka is the permanent life that you get after the merger. So there is a life that you get because of the merger and beyond. That is the baka. After the baka, you actually become unaware of the fana and the baka. That is the state of self-negation. Now this occurs at every point. Now I want you to read this, apply this in the context of what we read in Sahajmarg philosophy. The last chapter, stages of realization. Go back to last chapter, stages of realization, the 4 stages that Babuji says, at every point you get. Apply this to that and let me know what are your thoughts.
Sure, brother. But to move, to understand, we are at this Paka
No,
or
1 minute.
this?
1 minute.
Hmm.
Merger is not the last state. Please put it.
Okay.
Okay. Merger is Sarupyata.
Hmm.
The last stage is Sayujdata when you lose awareness of the merger, awareness of everything.
Okay.
In Sayujdata, you lose the awareness of that also. That is what we are actually aiming for in every chakra.
Okay.
So if you just look at it, the same, I can just read it out from the last chapter, the stages of progression. He says, the first stage, there is a peculiar state of consciousness of the divine force pervading all over. That's the first stage. In the second stage, a divine state prevailing all everywhere, absorbed in its remembrance, the divine remembrance. In the initial stage, you feel the divine force everywhere. In the second stage, there is a divine state with divine absorbance or remembrance. In the third stage, there is neither the feeling of the divine force or the remembrance, but only a feeling of negation. In the fourth stage, even that is gone, there is no impression left. So that is what the four stages are.
Okay, but we need to be attentive to understand this fourth stage. There is no awareness, right?
Only with awareness, the last stage is when you lose the awareness.
Okay.
For
Till that
example,
stage, we can be attentive and understand. Sorry.
For example, you know driving now. Now, are you aware all the time that you know driving?
No.
No. The
After
moment you
we
are
are
actually put in that situation, you become aware.
Mm.
Till that time, it's kind of receded into the background. Likewise, what happens is when the condition matures in any way, any point, it recedes into the background. It goes out of awareness into that realm where we can recall at will when necessary.
Yeah.
That is what happens. Okay.
Thank you, brother.
Okay, Kishore.
Brother, regarding this pendulum motion, I got like what you explained, the occipital range and then the energy lowering coming to the down chakras and then dividing into our heart. Just a doubt I have is like the pendulum motion is just an indication or it has some relevance also, like the oscillating thing, right? So just that part, is it something matters or it is just like we take it as it is?
If you want to correlate that with some relevance, no, as you go higher and higher towards the center, when you start establishing in the invisible motion, see, even now, when you start meditating, even in the first point, in the Pinda Pradesh itself, what happens with meditation as far as heart is concerned? The breathing becomes shallow, the heart rate goes down, the intensity of the heart rate goes down, everything that happens. In a way, the heart itself is becoming a bit more quieter. Correct? Even at a physical level. Even in the first point, this happens. As you go higher and higher, nearer to the invisible motion, this pendulum-like movement of the heart almost stops. There's still the heartbeat, but the pendulum-like movement gradually decreases in intensity. Because you are now established not at the visible form of the motion, but at the invisible part of the motion, near the center. Now, we just described it. Person who has the eyes and ability to feel it can feel it. But how many people have the sensitivity to feel? When we say, please focus on the heart, they all say, my heart was beating, lub dub, lub dub. How many people actually talk about the pendulum-like movement of the heart? Very few people talk about the sensitivity required for observing the pendulum-like movement. In other words, as you go higher, one of the corollary should be that the more nearer to the invisible motion, the less likely that the pendulum-like movement will be as visible. It also acquires the nature of that invisibility. It's almost like it's like a standstill. The heart is still beating, but the pendulum-like movement has actually come down. That's what is likely to happen.
Thank you.
Okay, enough of the questions, sir. I think most of you have actually finished. You have exhausted. I think you have asked Jaisima brother only saw a lot of questions. He could only cover 2-3 pages today. That's why I told you this is one chapter where you require a lot of time. The second chapter where you require a lot of time in Sahaj philosophy is efficacy of Raja Yoga is the central reason. These are the two chapters which require a lot of time. We have enough time anyway. So take your time and then we still on the 10th. So if we can finish in the next 2-3 weeks, it should be fine. No problem. Okay.
One question, brother. So, recently I got a picture. Till now, I thought Virat, Avyakruta, Hiranyagarbha in Lalaji's book, Virat as the creation that we are seeing. But they are correlating Virat with Brahmanda Mandal, Avyakruta with Parabrahmanda Mandal. So,
that is from an individual soul perspective. That is from a Brahman's perspective. The two perspectives are different. Brahman's Pind Pradesh is the Virat region. Brahman's Pind Pradesh. Individual Pind Pradesh is 1 to 5. Can you see the point? So there are two versions of it. We look at it from the individual soul perspective versus the Brahman's perspective. When we talk about the Virat region from the 6th to 10th point, it is from the Brahman's perspective, not the individual soul perspective. So just keep that in mind. So don't get confused between these two.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. That's why if you look at it from this way, you have to cross 6 bodies. 3 individual bodies, 3 Brahman's bodies before you enter in the center. Till that time, you will be traveling. So when I said this for the first time, people said, Are 3 bodies only traveling is taking a lot of time. We are struggling with that only. Where is the question of traveling for 6 bodies? But that is the journey actually. So, but then one saving grace is that as we go through the region of the Brahman, the region of the Pinda Pradesh, or the 3 bodies of the individual, the 3 bodies of the Brahman also to some extent is simultaneously covered. To some extent. But that you will understand once you train as a preceptress. Once you start reading the red book, you will actually understand that particular part after you come back from training. So till that time, you can keep your thoughts. Okay?
Thank you, brother.
No problem. So shall we call it a day now? I think most of you are also exhausted. I had the luxury of just sitting and listening. So I am active. Because I am active for the last half an hour to 45 minutes. But you people have been very active since the time it started. Hey, Mulata?
Brother, my question is very, I feel like very silly, but we started our sub center last like 1.5 years before in Chennai. In that, many of the people doesn't know about Babuji. He reached up to central region, but we are trying to focus on the meditation only. We didn't speak about the guru part, what guru is doing, and in our system the guru is a major part. We didn't tell about them. Last 1.5 years we are telling about only the meditation, cleaning and the prayer, and they are doing so. We are praying that they should know about the guru. So when this will all reveal to all the to our generation that Babuji Maharaj is a very, very highest soul and they'll come towards it. Is there any particular period for that?
Particular
period, all will understand.
See, every living master plays a role during their reign as masters. Babuji came from very near the center. Lalaji also came from very near the center. They were born in when the nature demanded their presence. So they were not ordinary souls. They came from very near the center, much beyond even the avatars. Avatars come between 11th and 13th point. These two souls came from very near the center. That's why Lalaji could attain perfection in 7 months. Unheard of in the spiritual history of mankind. Not even liberation, perfection in 7 months. So that means that they were already there at some level even before they came. They were very well versed with those conditions, so they came here and then they could shut off all these unnecessary things that they're carrying on this earthly plane, go back to that realm so fast. In fact, when we read the 44 whispers, you will actually get to know what was the condition of their causal body, their subtle body at the time of their birth. That's a different issue to be discussed. That's why I want you people, those who are interested in learning, no, to come out of the exams and be ready to learn all these things. And that is what is going to make it interesting. See, at this level, we cannot divulge everything. We can give you some hints and clues. This is what is happening. This is what is happening. But once you get to know the full impact of all this play that you see in front of your eyes of our hierarchy of masters, you will actually be so surprised that you will be stunned. Are, these are all the things. These are all the things that has happened, and then our masters are so great. They have come from that particular realm, and they have given the entire expanse of the journey for every human to follow, and we are still ignorant of that. Being in the same system, there's how you tell me how many people here, after being in the system for 10, 15, 20 years, have actually read the books. To be honest, very few people read. Nobody wants to correlate their reading with the experiential knowledge that they're gaining out of the practice. Either they fully read and they don't practice, either they practice or they don't read to touch the book at all. How many people actually take both of these two together and then actually make the journey so wonderful, so exciting? There is no dullness in spiritual journey. Please keep it in mind. Every aspect of the spiritual journey is exciting. It will leave you with wonder at every stage. As every stage unfolds, you know what is going to happen when you go to the center. When you go to the center, you are dumb stuck with wonder. This is what it is. And that's why Daji says, from first point onwards, when you practice meditation, start with wonder. Because that is what you are going to end with. The entire expanse. So, anyway, that kind of a thing, when you get motivated, when your heart is kind of filled with all these things, no, that is what you impart to the abhyasis, no. When we ourselves do not actually become well tuned with all these things, then what are we going to impart to the abhyasis? Meditation, this spirituality is not just about just closing your eyes and sitting and going back home. That is not spirituality. That is as good as the blind religion only. In religion also, they do the same thing without knowing what is happening. So we need to be very, very aware of what is happening. Look at it. Vivekananda says, this entire universe, expanse of universes you are seeing is nothing but a fistful of dust. A fistful of dust has given rise to this entire expanse of the universe. See the wonder of it, God's creation. If you want to just take a very simple example in our day-to-day life, a fistful of fire powder has given rise to the entire expanse of the flower pot. A fistful of it. How much you take a flower pot, a small flower pot, you light it. What do you see? You can just see that flower pot coming out with so many things, no? A small thing. Again, just look at the seed. The seed contains the entire tree in it. Now we hardly see the tree in the seed itself, but as and when the tree unfolds, the seed unfolds, you can see the entire expanse of the tree. That's how it is. The best thing is this fistful of dust, the fistful of fire powder has given rise to the entire expanse of the flower pot. And in the flower pot, every spark in the flower pot is one universe. Just imagine, every spark in the flower pot is one universe. That's how it is. And we are stuck with one universe. And we want to go back to the flower pot, the root of the flower pot, where it is still in the form of the fire powder. So their view from there, Vivekananda or Babaji's view from there is so different to what our view of this world is from here. It is totally different. And that's the beauty of it. Are we ready to look at this wonder as it evolves? That's what we have to ask ourselves. Anyway, Shweta Rao.
Brother, namaste. Can you shed more light on Sushupti? Like, where can we read more about it?
Good question you asked, because we were just reading about and discussing about Sushupti today in Truth Eternal. Sushupti is the deep sleep state. That is Sushupti. When we go towards the causal body of our existence, we go into the state of Sushupti. Normally, we don't know what is there in the causal body or what is there in Sushupti because our heart does not retain the awareness in Sushupti. Our heart goes there to Sushupti, but it does not retain the awareness. It is in a state of unawareness. So it cannot know. Now, when we are in the waking state, the heart not only knows about the waking state, it also knows about the sleep state. It also knows about the dream state, right? In the waking state, our heart knows about the waking state also, the dream state also, deep sleep state also. All the three states are known. Why? Because it's endowed with awareness. But when it goes towards the Sushupti, it is not endowed with awareness. What is spiritual sadhana? Lalaji writes, what is spiritual sadhana? Spiritual sadhana is going to Sushupti with awareness. That is all you are doing in meditation. That is the importance of awareness. Without awareness, there is no question of any fruit of meditation. It is the awareness that you actually expand into. Only with awareness, we can go to Sushupti, what is happening, and there we can cross the Sushupti and go into the fourth state of consciousness, which is the Turiya. Without awareness, it's not possible. Sadhana or practice is only for this, trying to go into the Sushupti with the awareness of the heart retained, so that you get to know what is happening in Sushupti. That is all the spiritual journey or spiritual practice is. Otherwise, everybody who goes to sleep should have got realization by the time they wake up in the morning. They don't get it because the awareness is not there in the Sushupti. Okay. Otherwise, then we would not tell anybody who comes to us for meditation, we'll go and tell them, go and sleep, go and sleep. We don't tell anyone to go and sleep. In fact, we say you have to wake up in the middle of the night and do meditation. Right? What happens is in the middle of the night, when you wake up for meditation, you are the closest to the causal body. That's why the midnight meditation is very powerful. More powerful than any meditation that you can do. Babaji used to emphasize about midnight meditation in the later half of his life. It is there in some of the last three volumes, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, volumes of Babaji, complete works. He has emphasized the importance of midnight meditation. He says it's very powerful. And the reason why it's powerful is that you are actually very near to the causal body. At the same time, you have now woken up and you are meditating. In meditation, you are awake and you have awareness. With that awareness, you are now lying close to the causal body. That's the easiest way to actually develop the awareness in the Sushupti state. In the midnight, your mind and body is not fully active. They're partly active in the midnight. You're not getting up and moving around. You're not getting up thinking anything in the midnight. What are you going to think in the midnight? You will just get up and sit for meditation with awareness. That's all that you are doing. In other words, you are converting the sleep state into a waking state, but with awareness. That's the best meditation, no? That's what you do actually when you sit for meditation in the morning also. That's where you want to go. You are anywhere there in the midnight. Why don't you start meditation there only? Once you get a hang of the meditation in the midnight, you will see the huge difference in the way that spiritual journey occurs. But then a lot of people confuse, if I meditate in midnight, should I go to sleep or not? Should I be awake and then I'll be knocked off the whole day, next day? You don't need to do all those things. You get up in the midnight, do the meditation, go back to sleep. What is there? Doesn't matter. Go back to sleep after that. But your heart will be able to recall what happened during the meditation in the midnight. The heart retains that ability. Okay. Anyway, there are so many things that we can discuss. But interestingly, when we started telling you about the truth eternal, we started reading more and more about it. There are a huge number of aspects that will be very useful for your journey. The brighter world question that sister asked is very clear in this book, in the truth eternal. So some of the things which we are not able to pick up from the CWRC, you can actually correlate that from truth eternal. In fact, what all things you are reading, most of the things that you read in the CWRC, volume 1, is the dictation given by Lalaji to Babaji. It's the dictation, that's a compilation of Lalaji's dictation, which is come as complete works of Babaji. Now, you will be surprised when you read 44 Iskur. Sir, this is a dictation Lalaji is given, but here it is come as Babaji's complete works. But the dictation is given by Lalaji. Every step of the way, Lalaji describes what is happening to Babaji, what needs to happen next, how is he progressing, everything he describes. And then look at it from Babaji's perspective. Babaji is like us. No, he doesn't know, he doesn't have a clue what is happening inside. Like we don't have a clue what is happening inside. He also did not have any clue. He could pick up certain things because he was sensitive compared to other people. He could pick up certain things. But the entire commentary is given by Lalaji. That this is what is happening, this is where your journey is occurring, this is the state that you are in, this is what is the next state that's going to come. Everything he comments. And you wonder, if somebody like Lalaji also was there with us to give a commentary, how wonderful the journey would have been. Right? Unfortunately, we don't have. So what is the alternative to that? Alternative is reading the spiritual anatomy and the towards infinity. That is the alternative. That will be like we getting the commentary from the hierarchy of masters as we are progressing. That's why we have to read the book. Otherwise, we cannot have Lalaji to come and give commentary to every one of us. Right? So, anyway, please read. And don't underestimate the importance of reading. Okay? Okay, 10:50, 55 almost. So, as I said, I get more activation because I come in the last 1.5 hours. So, I have more energy. You people are there since 8 o'clock. So, good to see that you are still smiling away to glory, each one of you. Okay? We'll catch up again on Tuesday, as usual. And we'll continue with the heart reason. So, take your time. Go bit by bit, go line by line. Take your time. Even if 1 or 2 extra sessions we have to take, we can do it. We have the leisure of time. Not to worry. Okay? No problem. Good night and have a nice day. Okay?
Thank you, brother.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother.